Pointers, good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing great. Tommy, finally seeing Oppenheimer tonight. Yeah, I still haven't seen it. I should go see it. I've only seen Barbie, which I loved. Barbie was great. Big fan of Barbie. Double B, good morning, friends. I like to hear it. Friends, indeed. Hirsch, good morning, everyone. I was just saying, it feels like, before I come, I don't feel like, oh, I got a show to do. It's like, oh shit, I'm late for coffee. That's good. We're getting somewhere. That's what we were after, right? Good morning, friends. Good morning, winners. We love it. We are winners. Good morning, everyone. Robert. Oh, I missed it. A new comment came in. Hey, all, sun's up, but cloudy in Montreal. No surprise. Hasn't been a great summer for weather here. You let the cat out of the bag, P-Man. I hit it by accident. I was going to save yours to the end. Indeed, the sun is up, everyone. I'm getting more comments in. It moves the order of the comments when they come in. Bitcoin is up. So let's just get it over with, guys. We got a Bitcoin running and the sun is up. I did it backwards, but that's okay. Let's have a coffee and talk about what's new. A few more good mornings for everyone. Sean recommends. Good morning, friends. Enmity, missing you, man. Glad you're around. Good morning, team. Hirsch reminding everyone, or has been reminded, that his coffee is missing. All right, everyone, let's get right into Moscow time. We have a long, good Moscow time today. Let's get started slowly here, right? Let's get started slowly. Biden's trans health secretary, Dr. Rachel Levine, praises Alaska's gender-affirming care clinic with the phrase egg producer, okay? Egg producer. So there you go. All you mothers out there, egg producers, okay? We got some COVID stuff happening, right? We got the Independent. New COVID wave has begun and masks should be worn again, scientists warn. Scientists. Spread of the new variant could cause extreme pressure on NHS and cause more damaging long-term health problems. They're going with the system will collapse thing again, right? The system will collapse. So that's great. So we've also got another one. I got two of those COVID is back things. Where's the other one here? I don't know where I put the other COVID is back. COVID is back. There were two COVID is back stories. I must have forgot to include the other. But that's okay. We get this one here from AI training. This one's pretty good, right? So you know how the AI thing works, right? You put the data in, it learns. We've talked about it before, right? We talked about it yesterday. What do two idiots give you? Not one smart person. They give you two idiots. Right? There's no cumulative effect of idiocy. If we got the billion stupidest people together in the world and asked them to invent a nuclear reactor, of course they couldn't, right? They don't add their IQs up. You're not getting a smart person. Of the stupidest billion people, there isn't one of them who can make a nuclear reactor. Therefore, you can't just combine dumb people. But AI is not doing that. They train it on scientists, right? Science. So this is what happened. Meta trained an AI on 48 million science papers. 48 million science papers, right? It was shut down after 2 days. Why? Galactica was supposed to help organize science. Instead, it spewed misinformation. 48 million science papers misinformation. Really good. Yeah, Jevi says, hot new variant has just dropped. Yeah, I did have two stories. I don't know the other one. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is our special Canadian section of Moscow time, right? Canadian section, because you got to admit, Canada hits above its weight when it comes to Moscow time. It really does. This one's awesome, right? How, everyone ready? Okay. How to avoid compromising nutrition grocery shopping at dollar stores. Okay. So if you have to go eat at the dollar store and you're looking around for food, right? CTV has advice for you. Okay. So if you want to do your groceries at the dollar store, you got a guide for it, right? How to avoid compromising nutrition when grocery shopping at the dollar store. This one's good. Jordan Peterson amplified this one, right? It's the Toronto Star. You know, the Toronto Star is the most left-wing newspaper in Canada, right? So there, and I believe it's the highest circulation of any newspaper in Canada. So today they have a new thing to complain about. Okay, so today the problem is there are too many bicycles in Toronto. A sharp rise in the number of food couriers commuting into Toronto has caused problems, right? So there's too many bikes. Okay, so everything you heard about before with we need more bikes, that's another problem now. Okay, so Toronto is telling you that, right? Jordan Peterson adds, we don't put punchlines in Moscow time, but Jordan Peterson just had to put it in context. He said, too many bikes, no one can believe that Toronto is real. Here's a good one from Newsweek, right? Newsweek asking the question many Americans are asking, why Stacey Abrams was not indicted like in Georgia like Trump, right? Why Stacey Abrams ran for governor, lost, and then has said, the election was stolen for a long time. Why wasn't she indicted, right? Well, you get into the article and you'll see, right? It says, crucially, Abrams' actions did not attract the potential for charges that Fulton's DA Fannie Willis office has found in Trump's case, right? Why? They don't really answer. It just didn't attract it. It just didn't attract the attention, right? It didn't attract it. Now, I told you we would be having a very special type of Moscow time, another one of the subcategories, and it's all Richmond, north of Richmond hate, right? Did I not say a week ago it was going to become a big deal, right? That people were going to start hating on this thing. And it's kind of in the same genre as the one with the movie with the human trafficking, right? I can't remember what it's called all of a sudden. But whatever that movie is called, Sound of Freedom, right? It's like Sound of Freedom, where I said there was going to be all of these fake news articles about Sound of Freedom. Well, Moscow time is coming to Richmond, north of Richmond, right? So MSNBC, oddly, the viral hit Richmond, north of Richmond isn't that hard on the rich, okay? The GOP, the party of tax cuts for the wealthy and deregulation for corporations, has no problem with anger at rich men, so long as it's the right rich men, right? So let's just read what he has to say, right? What do they have to say? After the conservative celebration of Jason Aldean's single Try That in a Small Town helped spark massive sales of the song, the right can barely contain its glee with its new favorite. A previously unknown musician from rural Virginia named Oliver Anthony rose to prominence with the song Richmond, North of Richmond, and it has more than 15 million views on YouTube, right? And what did they say? Anthony seems reasonably talented, right? So this is all coming at you from, let me tell you who says he's reasonably talented. The person who says he's reasonably talented is Paul Waldman, right? He's an author and commenter whose work has appeared in a number of publications. Los Angeles Times. Whoa, I guess Anthony Oliver must be so happy he's been called reasonably talented from a guy who's been published in the Chicago Tribune, the Boston Globe, and the Washington Post, where he's a regular columnist in the Post, right? What else does he have to say about Anthony Oliver, right? What else does he have to say? He says that Anthony is a singer, not a political theorist. Okay, so he's a singer and he's not a political theorist, right? So maybe we shouldn't expect his analysis to be sophisticated. We shouldn't expect him to be sophisticated. He's an idiot, right? He's got red hair and stuff. Like, what's he beard? Like, he's got a beard, right? But the conservative politicians and pundits embracing him understand very well the political utility of his message, right? So he knows. The writer knows that the politicians know that it's useful, right? The song is useful, right? He says, there's something else going on too. Conservatives are so excited about Richmond, north of Richmond, because they feel marginalized in popular culture. And they're at least partly right to feel that way. It's not because they get canceled or because there's a conspiracy against them. They are well-documented personality differences that map onto political ideology. Among the big five personality traits, liberals usually score higher on openness to experience, which includes exploration and creativity, and conservatives typically score higher on conscientiousness, which includes organization and responsibility. There are always exceptions, of course, and there's still a fair amount of conservative music out there. Okay, guys? So, he's not that sophisticated, but, the joke's on him, right? The joke's on him. So there's now these ones are, I don't want to make them sound funny, but they're a Moscow time. I don't know what to say, right? I don't know what to say. All right. So I'm going to try not to laugh because it's not funny. This is one of the darkest things ever, right? But it is Moscow time, so I don't know what to say. USA Today, more young Americans are dying, and it's not COVID. Why aren't we searching for answers, right? Ask USA Today. Why aren't we looking into answers, right? Week in, week out, this unnatural loss of life is on the scale of a war or a terrorist event. But the question remains, what explains this ongoing wave of excess deaths? I don't know. The Globe and Mail has to answer the same question today, right? This is the second biggest newspaper in Canada after the Toronto Star, which is preoccupied with the question of bicycles in Toronto, right? Too many. They asked the same question. More people than expected are dying in Canada in 2023 for reasons that are not yet clear. It's not clear, everyone. It's not clear. We don't know. It's a great mystery. One of the greatest mysteries we'll ever see, I'm sure. Now, this next one got me laughing, and I actually have the solution to it. So this is our last Moscow Time story, and then we're going to move into our theme for the day. So this one, homeowner arrested after trying to evict squatters from his own property, right? So he's arrested, okay? So poor guy got arrested. Now, I saw a story. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was in Fox News, all right? And they were covering a guy named Flash Sterling, I think is his name. He's got the greatest name ever. Let me just get to the pictures here. And why the heck is this not working? All right. Don't know why this is out of whack the way it is, but who cares? We'll get there. All right. So this guy, his name is Flash Shelton. Flash Shelton is his name. All right. So what he does is he moves. So he's a handyman. First of all, it's important to know he's a handyman because it kind of puts the context of the story together. And what he does is this: the minute someone has a squatter that they can't evict from their premises, he signs a lease with the owner and then moves into the apartment with the person, right, who's squatting. And then he just starts doing, like, he leaves the fridge open and he starts like sitting on the couch, making himself at home. And then he starts putting in like the little cameras in every room, and the people are like, what's going on? So they call the cops. They're like, there's a guy in my place, right? And the cops show up and they're like, talking. And he goes, no, I have a lease. I'm allowed to live here. I'm a legal resident. This is my lease. And then the other people who are squatters don't have any legal residence. So what he's done here is he's used the system and sort of turned it against itself in a pretty funny way. It all looks like a dad joke, right? It's like a big elaborate dad joke, but it works, right? It absolutely works. And I think we should apply the same idea now. The flash mobs that are going around, and then people, the security guards get arrested for stopping the flash mob or the shoplifting and the looting. So you can't stop the looting, right? That becomes, you get arrested, just like the homeowner in our fake news story who got arrested for trying to evict people from his own house. So just like that, right? This guy comes in after. The system is, you just get another person in there who you can't evict, and he sort of on his own moves them out. I had a friend who did this in Montreal, by the way. He would just hire a moving crew when you were out in the day, and he'd just put everything on the lawn. So he wouldn't throw it out or anything like that, but all your shit would just be on the lawn. You'd have to move back in, and then he'd move you out again the next day and just keep doing it. Anyway, we don't want to laugh about evictions. That's not funny. But the shoplifting story, so this is how it works, right? So it's illegal to stop the people from shoplifting now because they keep getting arrested, right? So you got to just let them steal stuff, right? But what if, hear me out, what if you just paid someone to rob the people who were stealing the stuff? Because the robbing isn't illegal, right? The robbing's okay, right? You can, like, clearly they're stealing stuff from the stores, so you just rob them back. And then it's not an employee, right? The robber, he's not a security guard anymore. He's a robber. He's a thief, right? He's a counter thief. So the counter thief takes the stuff and then he sells it back to the store for, let's say, 10%, right? Whatever the number, who cares? 5%, 20%, whatever it is. So there you go, right? And this whole thing of using the system against itself in these funny ways, right? Reminds me of Bitcoin, obviously, because that's kind of what we're doing here, right? We're kind of using greed. We're kind of using the weird contradictions built into the system against the system. And I'll sort of explain here, right? So in the same way that the logical things, right, don't work anymore. Like you can't hire a security guard to guard your store, right, because the security is illegal. But you could hire a thief to steal from the other thieves because the thieving is legal. We don't have a problem with the thieving anymore, right? And in the same way that the eviction thing can use the system against itself. What I find so interesting, and I've always found it interesting about Bitcoin, especially the Wall Street side of Bitcoin, is exactly this, right? The system of financial engineers running the world the way we've found ourselves in, or maybe at least having a disproportionate role in running the world than they ought to have. One of the things that Satoshi so brilliantly did is we don't need to persuade those rich people to be on our side. We don't, right? As long as Bitcoin behaves in a certain way, they'll go for it. Now, that the logical, easy things for people to do, save money, is now not possible. Right? You can't do the thing that you thought you could do when people told you to do all your life, right? Saving US dollars. You might as well move to Canada and apply for MAID and, get it done with, because it ain't going to work, right? Don't bike there though, because they're going to harp on you for biking to the thing. So the point though is that you can actually find all these clever ways to bend the system by not really having to change what's inside, just changing a point of view, reframing things. And that's what Bitcoin does. And you can start to see it now, right? Seeing all this clown world stuff and watching a generation of financial engineers looking out into the terrain that now these politicians and the media and everything has created for America, right? They gave the financial engineers an advantage. But now, with everything that's going on with Ukraine and debt and the COVID and the lockdowns, what it's done is it's absolutely made America into Argentina, right? So now the rich people in America, the financial engineers on Wall Street, are starting to see what's going on. And that's why we had Tom Lee, who, by the way, I actually orange pilled Tom Lee. Tom Lee, a financial analyst, or I don't know exactly what Fundstrat does. They're research sellers. But he was on CNBC yesterday, and he said, and he's a very big Wall Street insider. I used to hang out with him quite often back in New York in the old days. I spent well over 2 hours in their office with their whole staff in the summer of 2017, at the start of the summer of 2017, briefing them on what I understood was going on with Bitcoin at the time. And already at the time, I had a pretty sophisticated understanding of Bitcoin versus crypto. So he always had the benefit of that point of view. And he's always sort of remained pretty sophisticated for someone who only came in 2017, sophisticated in his understanding of Bitcoin's place and all of these things. Him and I actually keynoted a New York, the CFA, the Certified Financial Accountants, or some kind of big group in New York City. Pretty prestigious, as I understand. The CFA Society is still a pretty big deal in New York. Both he and I keynoted a session on Bitcoin for them, also in 2017. So I've hung out with the guy a lot. I actually was at a Miami Bitcoin 2022 party with him as well. So, I go way back with this guy, Tom Lee, and he made a prediction yesterday that Bitcoin will clear at 150,000 US dollars the moment the ETF comes into place. And the reason he said that is more or less what we all talk about here. Rich people don't want to back this regime. They don't want to back the system. They just want to preserve their wealth, right? They're going through the same learning curve that everyone else is going through, as far as, can we really still have confidence in these entities and these organizations and these systems? And they're saying, no, we need something new. And that's why you have BlackRock now advising 85% portfolio allocation for Bitcoin. Of course, they have their own product and they're pushing their own ETF, but it goes to show that the prediction that I had, that the wealthy folks like this would be instrumental in separating money and state, because they just want to be rich, right? They don't have any dog in the race other than, I want to be rich, right? So that's one of the brilliant things that Satoshi did by subverting the system of a mountain of financial engineers, and then giving them the most hypnotic, interesting, right? Never forget, Bitcoin is the most interesting story in finance, at least for the last 13 years or however long it's been, 14 years now. It's the most interesting story, right? And because it's the most interesting story, you can't help but take the best of the best, right? But now the financial engineers, the Wall Street people, whether we like to admit that the rich men north of Richmond are really smart, they are, right? There's a reason why the best and brightest go into the profession that's highest paid every generation. We just happen to have a generation where the highest paid were financial engineers, an anomaly in history, right? But normally this does happen at the end of the life cycle of a financial instrument. We've seen this before. Never at this scale. This is way beyond anything the world has ever seen. But here we are, right? With a generation of financial engineers all saying, and some of them, the highest IQs, the top performing people, now all looking at Bitcoin because they have no other choice. There's no other place to look from all their skills that they've learned. But this idea of using the system against itself and subverting things from within often comes with this, let's call it awakening, right? It comes with just a small shift in perspective to see, just like in the case of, like, why don't we not call them security guards? Let's call them counter robbers, and it would be legal, right? In the same way that let's not worry about evictions. Let's just move someone else in, right? Bitcoin is kind of like that, right? It's a dad joke, right? It's kind of a dad joke. And then the smartest financial engineers will all understand the difference between saving money and saving in a Ponzi scheme, right? And that's what we have. We've been lucky enough to create these circumstances, and here we are, right? So remember the prediction that I made the other day, that those reaction videos, and that's our theme, right? Wow, money in control, first time reaction, right? Remember I said that those videos are going to be really like the theme of the next year, that reaction videos to, oh my God, we live under a system of control and brainwashing that we never understood before, right? And you're going to get all of these first-time reaction videos. Did you see the one that came out just this morning? Benny Johnson shared it, and it is a compilation of, I don't know, 50 people doing their reaction to Richmond, north of Richmond, right? Black, white, male, female, all ages. And so the song plays straight, and then it's a compilation of people reacting first time. And you just see everyone loving it, like just totally getting into it, their eyes opening up, especially the African-American folks who don't always have a reference, let's say, for the poverty that white people have, because it's not really advertised, right? It's not part of the simple fast food version of what's going on in America. So to see that, right, because I've watched a few of these, I just happened to be watching these over the week, right? Reactions to Richmond, north of Richmond, and now there's this compilation video. So what I think, and it's what I predicted last week, I think I mentioned it, and it's what I think is going to happen going forward now, is that this genre of first-time reaction is about to catch on in all kinds of ways, and in ways that we don't think, and we can't imagine. And eventually it goes to Bitcoin. Eventually you're going to start seeing the genre of YouTube video that you're seeing with Richmond, north of Richmond, right? People, first-time reaction, seeing it, hearing it. You're going to see a cascade of that video. And eventually those things all coalesce around the what is money video, right? What is money? What is control? And you're going to see people open their eyes as a form of entertainment in the next year. Oh my God. Now there's a train that's going to bring people there, right? And we can already start to see it. We can see the train before our eyes, right? We can see these reaction videos becoming more and more engaging and relevant. The one that RFK recorded, the video that RFK recorded with Tucker Carlson 2 days ago, continuing to make tons of really interesting news, right? We find out that this is stuff I didn't know. I'll try to explain it to you, right? So let me get the notes here. So he comes in and he's talking about the history of Fort Detrick, which I didn't understand, right? So bioweapons were being developed at a Fort Detrick in Maryland, and it was shut down not long before September 11th. And Within the Patriot Act, there was a provision to remove the criminal liability of creating bioweapons. And believe it or not, the anthrax that was sent, if you remember in the days after 9/11, a few senators, congressmen received anthrax. Well, we've sourced the anthrax. It comes from that Maryland place. Only Fort Detrick could have created that or had that kind of weaponized anthrax. So what RFK is saying in the show is, and this was all run by Anthony Fauci, right? So Anthony Fauci, according to RFK, was involved in an effort to pressure Congress to push the Patriot Act through, which had a change of how criminal liability went for weapons or bioweapons development, and the bioweapons development was against the Geneva Convention. So it was the way out of the Geneva Convention. Basically, in the Patriot Act, they say we're not going to prosecute this stuff anymore. So although America was still signatory to the Geneva Convention on not doing gain of function around bioweapons, they were just saying we're not going to prosecute anyone. So it turns out that the people who were trying to put the brakes on the Patriot Act in the days following 9/11 were the ones targeted with the anthrax. And because they were targeted with the anthrax, Congress was shut down and they found a way to pass the bill, which didn't just do the spying. It actually did bioweapons stuff inside of it. So I had no idea about this, nor did Tucker Carlson. Now, I have not fact checked any of this stuff, right? But it sounds like it's true, right? It sounds like RFK understood it from his book on Anthony Fauci and said that this is what's going on, right? And you see there's another, let me just get my other video here with RFK, right? So he goes there and says, more or less that the US has been funding these biolabs. And he says our presence in Ukrainian biolabs is linked to bioweapon production, right? So talking here about that Victoria Nuland statement from the beginning of the war in Ukraine, which everyone has said is not true. They didn't have bioweapons in Ukraine. Ukraine had nothing to do with bioweapons, right? RFK says yes, right? RFK says yes. And then yesterday, now, absolute grain of salt, attention, warning, warning, warning. This comes from the Russian Ministry of Defense. Never believe things that come from the Russian Ministry of Defense, the US Ministry of Defense, the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. Don't listen to these people, right? It's not necessarily true. I'm just telling you what they said, okay? So not necessarily true, just telling you what they said. But keep in mind what RFK said, right? So the Russian chief of nuclear, chemical, and biological protection, Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, said on TV, on Russian national TV, he says they have a policy of global biological control. They understood that by creating artificial biological crises, they can rule the world. Kirillov highlights how U.S. big pharma companies have enriched themselves by the release of the SARS-CoV-2, blah, 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 and how the damage from the pandemic is dozens times greater than the aftermath of World War II. He also highlights Russia's repeated efforts to bring thousands of documents to the UN, with which the U.S. repeatedly denies to cooperate. It's safe to say things are escalating surrounding the biolabs in Ukraine, and it's safe to say we are already at war with Russia. World War III is well underway. This is all from War Clandestine, of course. He says again, Russia's highest-ranking biological military official just went on TV and accused the U.S. and Big Pharma of releasing biological weapons to rule the world. Regardless of what you believe, global tensions are at a critical mass, and this situation should have your utmost attention, right? So again, I can foresee this genre of first reaction videos, right? First reaction to Richmond, north of Richmond, absolutely viral. Not just Richmond, north of Richmond, reactions to Richmond, north of Richmond, viral. The genre becoming viral. I think you're going to get a lot of people, right, who are able to connect the dots between what happened with COVID, what happened with Ukraine, what's happening with the Bidens, and you're going to start getting actual liberal people who are well-intentioned, good-meaning, had the best intentions to think that, Biden and all these people are nice, right? They're all looking out for you. You're going to get these people who are going to be watching whatever it is, whatever viral type of Richmond, north of Richmond videos are created, and they're going to be doing these reaction videos more and more, because the train of deception and clawing your way out of this pit of deception is going to be entertaining. We're going to get to enjoy every minute of it, right? Now, if we have a total financial collapse, at least we'll have something to watch, right? And we're going to watch people sort of waking up. Might be a little more depressing than I'm hoping, but it's going to happen, right? Now, it's not just about the deception and the lying, right? It is even just about the hubris and the incapacity that comes with hubris. Look at the Hawaii case, right? What did I say was going to be the big story out of Hawaii, right? I don't give a shit how Hawaii started. I don't know, directed energy, blah, 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 blah. Be careful with that stuff, right? The real story that I can see, that I perceived from the weekend on, is incompetence. Absolute, utter, and total incompetence. And that's what we're starting to see more and more. It's starting to come out. Here's what we found out in the past couple of days, right? We've seen Maui's waterman, right? The water controller was obviously appointed and has absolutely no idea about how to use water stuff. He's like a political operative, right? He's not he's not an emergency responder. He's just a political operative, right? And he decided to not use and turn on, I guess it's called Maui's West Maui water. So a state official refused to release water for West Maui fires until it was too late. So it looks like, as is typical, right, on my island in Barbados, there's plenty of times where if we haven't got enough rain, there's water warnings. You're not allowed to water your lawn, right? We've all seen that before. And they actually will sort of throttle the amount of water that's even coming out of taps, right? They don't get a lot of pressure if there's not a lot of water fall. So I am just guessing, but I imagine Maui has a very similar system. And indeed, there is a centralized system that can make critical decisions about water release in case there's a fire, and it didn't happen, right? So that's just one case. The other thing here that we know is that the warning sirens never went off, right? CBS News is actually following up on this, believe it or not. CBS News, the only major news outlet that even talked about Hunter's fake laptop or Hunter's real laptop that wasn't a fake news story. So here, CBS News has learned Maui's emergency operations chief had no background in disaster response, right? So that's a new thing, right? No background. It's his department that is responsible for setting off warning sirens, which rang silent during the fires. Joe Colangelo, a Bitcoiner from the old days who I know, says the following, right? It's always the same story. Trained in political science and the law, this is the person who is the chief emergency operations, the operations emergency chief, and has the one with no experience in disaster response, saying, trained in political science and law, he has no formal education in disaster preparedness or response. And prior to his current role, he never held a full-time job dedicated to emergency management. Instead, his main qualification was being chief of staff to then Mayor Alan Arakawa. But in that role, he told Civil Beat Tuesday, he assisted during emergency operations, blah, blah, blah. But he has no training. He's just another hack, right? Just another absolute hack. So you get those problems, right? And now more people talking about the same thing, right? Another one from Cernovich. Maui emergency chief, that's the warning sirens, right? So no warning signs. Maui emergency chief defends decision not to activate warning sirens. Water wasn't released. Now, I don't know what of this caused the trouble, right? I don't know how any of this would have been different had any of these things changed. So I'm not telling you, oh, it's the water guy's fault or it's the disaster relief fault. It's probably all their faults. It's probably a gang of people that were only there for pork barrel politics, right? Never thinking there would be an actual emergency where they'd have to get off their ass. But it happened. It happened. And so now they're going to have to try and clean it up. And are they going to clean it up in any sane way? It'll probably end up looking as schizophrenic as everything that we see now with the Trump case, right? Because remember, and these are more of these compilation videos that are being sent out, right? Now there's a series of compilation videos around all the people that doubted the 2016 elections, and those are going viral, right? You're getting all these videos of Rachel Maddow, and Stacey Abrams, right, and all these people saying that the election was a scam in 2016, Russia stole it. And here's Glenn Greenwald saying prominent Democrats, including elected officials in Congress, have claimed that every national election the Democrats have lost since 2000, 2004, 2016 was the byproduct of fraud, theft, corruption, and illegality. Stacey Abrams still insists she won 2018. And here's Rachel Maddow saying to Hillary Clinton in that interview they had 2 days ago, the day Trump was indicted again, right? Saying, 3 days ago, Rachel Maddow says to Hillary Clinton, if bad actors tell us falsely that every election is stolen and that the only way an election is trustworthy is that if they come out on top of it, it tells you something you just, sorry, let me read this over. I don't know why I'm not reading correctly. Rachel Maddow says to Hillary Clinton, if bad actors tell us falsely that every election is stolen and that the only way an election is trustworthy is that if they come out on top of it, it tells you something not just about the person, but it wounds us as a democracy in a way that's hard to repair. Now, they're the ones who did it, right? So they're going to have to rely on this schizophrenia all over again when it comes to Hawaii and the incompetence. But they made, within managing this incompetence of what happened in Hawaii, they made one of the most critical errors I've ever seen. And I don't think anyone's really picking up on it enough now, but it will become a story. So I'm telling you again what's going to be in the news going forward, and it's the following. For some weird reason, only the simulation can tell us, right? This is absolutely the simulation coming into our lives and offering up this weird route. And here it is, right? So do you know what the White House did 2 days ago to start trying to staunch the bleeding on the Maui story and the incompetence and the story around incompetence that I think is going to continue to bubble to the surface? Do you know what they did? They wheeled out John Podesta. Do you remember who John Podesta is? So John Podesta was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager or chief of staff or something. He's the one with all these, you got to go see his art. It's amazing. He's got kids. He's an artist, right? He's an artist. He's got kids in handcuffs. He's got kids with stuff shoved in their mouth. He's got kids with all kinds of, some would say sexual images, could just be, we don't know. I don't know. But of course, he's the one in all the old Pizzagate stories, right? So John Podesta was the main guy that Cernovich targeted in the Pizzagate stories, right? So they cart him out. We haven't seen him since Pizzagate. He was hidden. He was hidden since Pizzagate because he's useless, right? He's just like, well, what are you talking about? So they bring him out. All right, they bring him out, and this is what he offered. He is now the point man. It's like sending Yellen to China to fix our economic problems, and she eats mushrooms and laughs about it. Right? It's as stupid a plan. All right. So they bring out John Podesta, who I think you'd rather people would forget he existed because of the liability that opens. So why is he out here doing it? Well, this is what he says, right? So they bring him out, and he goes, and this is Will Hild saying, this is beyond hilarious. Biden climate advisor John Podesta just used forecasts by Credit Suisse to support the admin's ESG plan. Okay. So he comes out and says, ESG has told us, it's all about global warming, and that's what's caused Maui. He uses Credit Suisse, bankrupt. It's bankrupt. All right. Credit Suisse research to prove that everything that happened in Maui was climate change related. And then he says, but we have the solution. We have the solution, he says. All right. It's the Inflation Reduction Bill. So the Inflation Reduction Bill, you didn't know this, but the Inflation Reduction Bill is actually designed to fix climate change. Did you know that? All right. So this is what he says, right? Joel Pollack answering that, right? Joel Pollack says, John Podesta appeared at the White House podium to claim that climate change caused the wildfire and deaths in Hawaii, and that the Inflation Reduction Act will help prevent future deadly wildfires. Talk about exploiting an ongoing disaster for ideological and political purposes. Pollack goes on to say even more, this is sick. Not only does climate change have no direct link to the Maui fire, not only are there other bigger environmental factors like alien grasses, but John Podesta is using deaths to push an election message about Joe Biden's misleadingly named Inflation Reduction Act. But thank you, simulation. Thank you. I deeply, deeply appreciate your invisible hand at work in this story for bringing John Podesta back to link Maui to inflation. It couldn't be better, guys. It couldn't be better. Now, I mean, Hawaii is a tragedy. People died, right? Now, I don't want to, in the same way, I don't think we should be cheering on death because it advances Bitcoin, right? That's not really where I'm at, right? But it's going to happen anyway. So we got to make the best of what we got, right? We don't have a choice. I don't want to be trite about what happened over there at all, right? Like this is a unbelievably terrible story that happened in Hawaii, but they brought out John Podesta and they tried to turn it into the Inflation Reduction Act is good, and if we don't do it more, we're going to have more global warming and more dead people in Maui. So vote for Joe Biden. That's what they're going with, guys. That's what we're going with. Now, if you're like us, right, and you do want to see separation of money and state, there is no better way to tee up these reaction videos of the cascade that I mentioned of people going, oh, wait a minute, our government is lying? And then it moves to, oh, and they lie with military grade precision, right? It's not just haphazard lies. Military grade brainwashing and precision is how they lie. Oh. And guess what? Money is what makes it all possible. So if we just remove the money, they're not going to be able to do that anymore, right? So here we are. Here we are, guys. I think we are setting everybody in America up for a genre of wow, first look reactions to all of these stories. Just look at the Trump stories again, right? Just look at the Trump stories again. You get all these people who lied about Trump for so long and said all the craziest shit you can imagine, right? They said the craziest shit you can imagine for years about the president. Like imagine what they went with, right? They went with the president, the sitting president of the United States is saying that Nazis are fine people. They went with that, right? And there are people who got so bamboozled for so long that you have now such a collection of these first reaction videos that you can now create a whole genre of entertainment. And as long as there's nothing coming out of Hollywood, which is going to stay, by the way, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but Disney now getting sued for millions. So not just a little bit of money, the financiers who are involved in producing the movies for Disney, with Disney, are questioning the Hollywood accounting, it's called, right? Hollywood accounting. So they're saying, for example, that the Avatar 2 movie, they got stiffed. They're saying that Disney is playing around with the box office receipts, shifting movies from different platforms in order to not pay people out. So they tried this with Scarlett Johansson when she made a Marvel movie and it was during COVID, and they tried to just put it only on streaming and not pay her royalties. So she hired this lawyer who just absolutely burned Disney on that one. So all of these financiers now have hired the same lawyer, and he's coming for Disney. I don't think Disney, they fired the whole artist's office in Singapore today. All of their movies are losing money. So as a function and a captured function of Operation Mockingbird, they're not going to be reliable. Or even as a distraction, they're not going to work anymore. Like they can't make movies. No, and if they can, they're not allowed to advertise them. They're not allowed to market them. They're trying to get around it with the Snow White thing now, because the Snow White, who was I guess Latina or something like that. But that's not the problem. She said she hates Disney and Snow White, or she hates Snow White or something. And so even like liberal Disney fans are mad at her and want to boycott the movie, not just people who are outraged by the skin thing and the skin swap or whatever it is, like in Little Mermaid. So Disney, right? Disney having major financial troubles now. Major. I mean, real financial troubles. You didn't think it possible. It's here. Real financial troubles. Why are they lying to their investors? We're going to find out. We're going to find out, right? So if you look at this, even just, Richmond, north of Richmond, and that song going viral, but then the reaction songs going viral, and then the inability to run any interference on the virality of these first reaction videos. And I think they're going to take over. I think you're going to get Snow White a dude now. Not yet, B-Man. Not yet. Yeah, not yet. Latina, something like that. I don't know what's going on. I don't really care about Snow White. So anyway, look, it's going to go right down the train, right? It's going to go right down the train, and you're going to start getting these videos where folks are going to be able to see this stuff. And in the end, one of the kickers is going to be like the president of Argentina, right? So they asked the president of Argentina the other day, why do you want to shut down the central bank? What are you going to do, right? What are you going to do when you shut down the central bank of Argentina? Of course, the fella, the Bitcoiner who won the first tour in the Argentinian elections, I don't know what his prospects are for the second one. And there's probably going to be a lot of effery going on in that system. But he says they should be shut down. And the fake news tried to be like, well, why do you think they should be shut down? And he says they have no reason to exist. What do we need it for? We have Bitcoin. What do you mean? Right? What are you talking about? And so you're going to start to see that guy, whatever happens, right? But someone like him at the end of the train, an Andreas Antonopoulos or someone, or a Robert Breedlove, right? It's going to be what is money, and it's going to become a viral sensation. People are going to follow this thing, right? Because that's what you saw. That's what I saw. That's why before the compilation of reactions to Richmond, north of Richmond, being made this morning, which I saw, I was watching a lot of African-American reactions too. And each one of them was like, at first, they're not used to seeing a white guy complain about being poor. They know it's true. They know, everyone knows there's white poor people, right? But seeing the passion and the honesty of it was a different effect, and it hit different. And you could see people changing their opinion about the world from watching that one video. And as I predicted, remember what I said last week, we are in for a year's worth of this genre of first reaction videos becoming a major thing. And Bitcoin is at the end of it, right? Bitcoin is the ultimate reveal of first reaction too. The last of the first reaction genres are going to be what is money and what is control and what is power. Oh, and you're going to get everyone seeing it. So we're almost there, guys. The next year is going to be the absolute greatest thing you've ever seen, and we're going to love it. All right, let's get to some comments here. Let's see what all the gang has to say. Ground beef. The Malcolm Charter in Jurassic Park book has a pretty good rant about science in the chapter titled "The Control." Yeah, I don't remember it, Emily. I should go look at it, though. I should go look at it. Great interview on Viva Fry with Heather McDonald on the dumbing down of society. I didn't see that. I'll go check it out. I hope I've been trying to bump into Viva here in Montreal. I bumped into Gad Sad the other day when I was out for ice cream with my kids. That was pretty fun. Cool guy. All right, GM. I capitulated with my first coffee. Oh no, Huru, come on. I don't want to turn you into a coffee guy again, dude. Enjoy, P-Man says. The DA thinks Trump is too attractive. Everyone eventually joins the breakup, Javi says. I bet this blowhard doesn't know how to write a song or play anything. Of course not, P-Man. The guy who wrote, the guy who was trying to say, we shouldn't expect Oliver Anthony to be sophisticated about politics. We shouldn't expect him to be sophisticated. He's not like us. He hasn't gone to any of these places, right? One of the cards that I get to play in life that I'm good at, by the way, is being really arrogant to people like this, because I have a very good education and I have all of these things, and I can be more arrogant than these low IQ fucking journalists any day. So I love, especially when they're like sophisticated politics. I went to a very fancy political science school in France, right? Like I can fucking get these people. I love doing it. I love it, right? Unfortunately, that's one of the main things I learned in France, by the way, how to be an arrogant asshole. It's the only way to get anything in France. I wear it fake, right? I always have, right? But if you want, people go to France and they say, oh, everyone's so mean there. Not if you're more mean to them. Then they'll give you good service. They'll respect you, right? The thing that bewilders French people more than anything is an American who speaks French well. That bewilders them. They have no idea what to do. No clue. It's just like, they'll do anything, right? I can order people in restaurants. Like it's awful. It's awful. But I got sick of getting served poorly, and I had enough aristocratic, rich friends that said, "No, this is how you got to do it. You just got to be a jerk, right? You got to send them on their way." I hated it. I was a waiter at the time in America, so it didn't fit naturally. But once you realize that it works, you're like, "Okay, I can do this. Right? I can do this." So I get a lot of pleasure. I always have gotten a lot of pleasure out of out-arroganting, these kinds of people. So it's very fun. I love it. Bitcoin has been the ultimate to be arrogant against these people. Absolutely. It really gets them mad. Really. We all got to be a troll. Trolling with Nolan is what I always call it, right? You want to go trolling with Nolan? You can do it. You can do it. I had one more thing on RFK. What was it? Yeah. Speaking of people I could be arrogant to, if I ever meet this motherfucker, he's going to get it. And I've given him enough of a chance now. This is that David Pakman guy, right? What a motherfucking scumbag. So now he has a video. Did you know he's got his like little thing on YouTube where he's doing a short, right? Did you know that RFK's major donor is a Republican? He's a Democrat in name only. He's getting money from a guy from Wyoming, right? You ever heard of him? RFK Jr.'s super PAC got more than 50% of its funding from a Trump mega donor, right? You got to see this guy. Scum, absolute scum. I gave him a chance. I said maybe, right? I asked him last year if he wanted to come to our event. I was looking for left-wing people. Got to pay me, he says. Oh, okay, because you're so great. I got to fucking pay you to come speak at my event. Okay, you're out. I'm not paying you anything, right? You're a loser. And now he's coming out, right, after he got punched in the face by Vivek last week, right? Just absolutely punched in the face. Vivek said, I know where you come from, buddy, right? I know you and your buddies, right? I went to Harvard too, right? And just punched him in the face. And it was great. We got to get more of that going on. And, David Pakman, like I said, he's not on the level of Space Drop. He's too weak and low. I would love to see David Pakman react to a space drop. That I would watch. That's probably the next David Pakman content I'll ever watch, right? David Pakman reacts to Fauci dropped from space. That's it. That's all he's got left. He's going after RFK now? David Pakman is going after RFK now? Nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen. All right. What else do I got? A bit of contrast coming from Hawaii is the money being sent to Ukrainians as opposed. Yeah, the contrast in Hawaii has also been good. Again, it's one of these revelations, right? The layers we have to peel to get to the what is money and what is control is your government good? Wow, no, right? Does your government is communications just an honest debate between right and left? Oh no, it's military grade brainwashing, right? And then finally you get to your money is just a unit of account and a medium of exchange and a store of value. Nope. It's none of those things. It's a tool of control, right? So the wow revelations that we have, right? It's a year of revelations, guys. The year of revelations, right? I did not say the year of revelation. I said the year of revelations, all right? In case any eschatologists are out there saying, but it is eschatology for the fiat world. Yeah, the spirit cooker. Yeah, that's Podesta. He's the spirit cooking guy. Yeah. Honestly, and I think I saw that here, right? Tommy mentioning that Podesta art will turn you into it will. Yeah, absolutely. You got to see it. It's unreal. Like it's some of the most disgusting things you'll ever see in your life. Art, they call it art. Space drop, Podesta, space drop. So the thing about Hawaii too is they fucked with Tulsi Gabbard, right? Gabbard has videos out with government refusing outside aid. Yeah, Hawaii government stopping anyone from buying burnt land, but they can and will. Yeah. It's not going well in Hawaii, guys. It's not going well. But a major mistake, right? A major mistake. Yeah. But the watchers will blame AI when they watch. They won't believe it. Future, yeah, you're right. There's going to be some of those, but in the end, we don't. So one of the things you have to realize, and it's sad to say, okay, it's sad to say, no one, I don't know if any Bitcoiner has told you this yet, right? But the Bitcoin revolution isn't just going to be because a bunch of plebs bought Bitcoin, right? It's not. Like part of it is that the rich people, the rich men north of Richmond, the Wall Street folks, the BlackRock folks, don't want to keep getting in bed with the low IQ folks left in government, right? That arrangement is over. They're free radicals now, and that's why you get stories like, just look at this other one, right? And this is where things are headed, right? You look at this is Wall Street Silver. Almost everyone is dumping U.S. government treasuries, including the Fed. China's treasury holdings are the lowest since 2008 and down by a whopping $500 billion from the peak in 2013. The biggest holder of U.S. treasuries, Japan, their appetite is at the lowest since the great financial crisis. And the yields are just not attracted to Japan right now. They don't need to manipulate the money. And Saudi Arabia's treasury holdings are the lowest since 2016. So in the same way that other countries are getting out of the Pax Americana, my prediction is always that hyper-Bitcoinization happens because BRICS2 fails and Bitcoin fills the void for the energy companies, because what they're expressing when they say they don't want to settle in US dollars is they're saying they don't want the petrodollar. And now if they can settle energy in another thing, and well, then it's not just petro anymore either. You get rid of both the petro and the dollar, and that's how you get nuclear. That's how you get other things coming into the energy matrix, because the industrial war machine isn't so motivated or capable of controlling petro and dollars the way they once were. And so we get the situation where Wall Street and the energy companies all of a sudden get, boners for Bitcoin, and for lack of a better word, and those boners are going to be a help, right? And that's how we get hyper-Bitcoinization. Unfortunately, right, we want as many plebs in the door as we can, but that's never been the battle plan, or at least not the one that I knew about, right? Not the one that I want as maximum pleb participation before the pump, but the point is to put a wedge between energy, Wall Street, and Washington, right? And we don't do that by making sure. I mean, every coffee barista has Bitcoin. That's not the answer, or every farmer, or any. The answer is just like, now, I want a future down the road where Wall Street is shrunk. But we only get that by corrupting them first. That's why it's a lot like this idea. That's why Bitcoin, I even brought up this weird using the system and everything we know to subvert the system. We wouldn't even be able to make Bitcoin a thing if we weren't in a world where Wall Street was the top of the pile, right? It's literally their sophistication that will draw them into Bitcoin. So I don't care if we have enough Luddite plebs that don't know, and I don't mean Bitcoin plebs, I mean, brain dead, brainwashed people. NPCs, it doesn't matter. Like, we don't have to convert all the NPCs. They get the UBI, they get the CBDC, or they get the MAID, right? I don't know. That's why I don't have a problem with MAID, right? That's their other option. Buy Bitcoin or kill yourself. I don't know what else to say, right? Is the Gadfather? I'm gonna try and do it, man. I'm gonna try Capenta. He didn't even know what I was talking about. I was trying to get him. He's not. I mean, he knows what Bitcoin is, but he was. I was like, oh, maybe you want to come on Bitcoin Magazine and we'll do a little thing. And he goes, yeah, I just got to ask you first, right? How many subs do you have? And I'm like, oh, like 2 million on Twitter, and and he's like, oh, and I was like, yeah, we're big. We're big. So there you go. French arrogance is only second to English snobbery. English snobbery, that doesn't bug me as much. Neither does French arrogance, but English snobbery. Their country is such a shithole that it's hard for them, right? It's been amazing to watch the honest first-time reaction videos of Richmond. Yeah, see, Steve knows it. Yeah, I've watched dozens of them. Yeah, see, did I not tell you that this was going to become a genre? Last week, I told you, before Richmond, North of Richmond even came out, I told you this was going to be a thing, that this genre of reaction videos, it's not going to stop. The whole world is about to become a reaction video. All of it. All of it, right? It's been amazing to watch. Yeah. And indeed, yeah, I've watched dozens of them. Yeah. 90% of people reacting are people of color. Empathy and love song. Yeah. That's what I see, Steve. I agreed. It's been incredibly heartwarming. It has. Yeah. Pac-Man's a maggot. He is. Yeah, he is. Not worth a space drop, but definitely worth a punch in the face. Well, we don't need to punch him in the face. Like I said, I won't watch it until that point of view, right? What do you think the deep state will try to do to sabotage this optimistic view? I feel like it's too good to be true. We can't have nice things, Nolan. Nick, well, I mean, a bit of faith, I guess, but also, look, it's the most entertaining outcome, right? So I don't have any other guide other than I know what Jesus told me to do, right? Don't worry about this stuff. I don't worry about it. I don't worry about money, right? That's the other, don't forget, Jesus only speaks like 5 times in the Bible, right? It's very little, right? You can write everything he said in one piece of paper. It's very simple. And, he says, don't worry about this stuff. And I don't. You can't, right? You just can't. Now, I understand it's hard because we've all lost family members to the brain infestation, and that's not easy to watch. So all I mean, I guess, Nick, is that we're already in the worst. People say it can't get worse. It can get worse still, but we've been living through some bad shit for a long time. So we've already adapted, I think, to a lot of it. And I think we're on the way out of it. So what will the deep state do? They're throwing everything at it. This is the A game, right? You're seeing the absolute A game. Nobody wants the sloppy job that's being done on Trump. Nobody wants the sloppy job that's going to have to be done on Hawaii. No one wants the sloppy job that's going to have to happen to Wall Street. To imagine that someone could plan all of this and understand all of the dynamics and the chaos is crazy. It's not possible, right? It's just not possible. Even look at what's happening at our border, right? Now, people say, oh, it's a Democrat plan to bring more immigrants in so they can flood the voting ranks. What? I don't get that point of view, because do you think the people they're bringing into America are all liberal and they're going to owe some fealty to the party that opened the borders? I don't think so. I think what we're seeing is, and even speaking of reaction videos, right? RFK did this documentary down on the border, right? All African, Chinese, none of them from Latin America, right? And RFK even said out loud and in person, I used to laugh at Trump about the border wall, and now I say, shut it down. Shut down the border. We are getting invaded. Now, I don't believe in the invasion thing. I'm not too, he says they're military age men. Again, you're seeing only men because guess what the coyotes do? They steal the women, right? They take the daughters and the mothers and the wives. So I think what you're getting, and all these people, right? Maybe there's some terrorists coming in. Maybe there's some bad people coming in. But think of it, in my estimation, what it's got to be 95% of people that are running away from drugs and chaos and violence in Africa or corruption in China. All of these people, right? They're not coming to America to recreate it. I think so. So all this to say that this is some plan doesn't make sense. What I see is corruption. What I see is someone paid the government for whatever reason, probably the cartel, just to make sure the opening is there for the drugs to keep the border open. So I think that's another one of these ones where you're going to get revelations, where you're going to get people go, whoa, 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 whoa. So the optimistic view is simply that they are already throwing their A game. They can do more of the stuff they're doing, right? Like arresting Trump 4 times and all that. But they're up against, it doesn't change the case. They're up against Kennedy. They're up against Vivek. They're up against Trump. They got to kill them all. And then they got to keep killing, right? Because it's not going to be enough to character assassinate them. They don't have Disney. They don't have ABC. They don't have NBC. None of these things work anymore. They spent that money. They played those cards. And it is a game, right? So the way to understand all of this, it's just a game. It's a game. To everyone, it's a game. To Bitcoiners, it's a game, right? You got to disassociate yourself a little bit from the anxiety and the stress. It's a game. And unfortunately, I hate to put human lives into a context of a game, but it's a game. And they can't win with the players they have. They just can't, right? Now, again, like, agreed, you could kill Trump and it would be a big problem to the movement that he's captured because he's such a good communicator. And I would have thought it fatal until I saw Vivek. And now I have to imagine that there is another Vivek behind him and then behind him and behind him and behind him and behind him. So we'll see. But I think they've got a year left and we're on the upswing in World War III. 2024, it's all about 2024. And everyone knows there's something fishy and sinister going on in Hawaii. It looks like it. And even if not, think about how much trust is eroded that we're all there. Like I said about Obama and the chef, right? I don't think Obama killed his chef, right? Like maybe, but I don't think so. Like 99.9999999% some weird thing happened. But it doesn't matter because like half the population now thinks Obama killed his chef. Right? Like you're not going to be able to reinvigorate the system with trust. You're going to need the boot, and the boot ain't big enough. So unless they just kill half Americans, which is what, it happens fast. That's what Cernovich was warning us about yesterday, right? You're not going to have time to prepare. That will happen fast, and it is possible. I just don't think it's going to happen. We have too many guns. America, again, right? Just thank the founding fathers for the Second Amendment, because ain't no one coming to America and taking away our guns. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We are more armed than an army, right? So I don't think Vermont is getting rid of its gun stuff, and it's the most liberal state going, right? I can still go to any Walmart and pick up any firearm I feel like. And we got all the bullets. I know in the rest of America, you got ammo supply problems. We don't have ammo supply problems. For some reason, we don't have a lot of people in Vermont. I can go buy any type of bullet I want. So Assalam. Bidenomics equals migrant / Ukraine greater than Hawaii U.S. citizens, isn't it? Yeah, isn't it amazing? Just as P-Man says, isn't it amazing that the Dems and left have become the party and are anti the little guy? Yeah. All right. Absolute corruption makes sense. Yeah. Freedom has the best farm system. I love it, Billy. We do have the best farm system. Yeah, I mean, just look what we got. We got RFK. We got a Kennedy on our team, man. You don't lose politics with Kennedys on your team, right? You win. and we're going to win. But they cheat at the game. It doesn't have to be killing, but something that gets the masses following again. Yeah, they could. I mean, look. I'm like 50-50 now on COVID being a complete fake thing. I wasn't even like that a couple weeks ago, right? I was like, it is. Now, the virus was real, okay? The virus was real. But even when Trump says China virus, like I'm off that. I'm like half now on the war clandestine. Now RFK talking points that we created this thing, right? I just don't. I'm only half because I have zero proof. I don't know. I'm never gonna do my own research on this stuff, right? I'm not building a fucking bio lab to find out where it came from. So there you go. How much money do you have to give to get on the favor list? Yeah, it's probably a lot. It's probably a lot. So you think these type of reaction videos will open the masses' eyes to avoid the psyops? I think they're going to become a genre of entertainment greater than people realize now. Now, I said it last week, and clearly it came true with Richmond, north of Richmond, right? Now, I know these reaction videos have been a thing for a while, but this video seems to be a little different, and it's getting these reaction videos as like part of how it's being shared. So I think the reaction video, so when I say it's going to be a genre, I believe that, but I think the aesthetic of it is what we're entering. So it doesn't mean it's just going to be videos of people going, whoa, right? But that will be permeating the air. There you go. The real question is, what do people do with their new eyes? Yeah, I mean, I hope it's laugh, right? I hope it's laughed, right? Yeah, protect themselves. Yeah, protect yourself. Save your money. Save it in Bitcoin, right? I think we do. When people say, "What's next?" I mean, financial collapse, right? You can probably get a lot of power with financial collapse. Looks like that's where we're headed. I mean, I think we can avoid it with Bitcoin, but there might be some stuff there. Who retaliate, protect themselves, retaliate. Yeah. Don't. Yeah, that's where we're headed, guys. We're headed to we're headed to a situation where it's going to be easier to corner the enemy than it ever has. Doesn't mean you can win. It means you can corner them, right? And Dr. Judy M, it's been engineered intentionally. So we knew that. So that is 100%. All right. So that's 100%, right? 100%. Engineered intentionally over decades. That we know 100%. It's how it was released, right? It's how it's released. So the relentless energy pushes today's show into double overtime. Yeah, we love it, guys. We love it. All right. I got some stuff to do. I'm going to be hosting FedWatch today at noon, 12:30 Eastern time. If you're around, I'll be with Ansel Linder. We'll be talking about just macro, probably some oil, probably what's going on in China. I bet we talk a lot about China, lots of stuff happening in China. This T-bill thing, we might be talking a little bit more about that, but come join us. We'll be there 12:30 to 1:30 Eastern time. You can catch us on Rumble, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. All right, team. Peace. Great hanging out with you this morning. See you tomorrow.